Hey guys, I'm back here at the tiny house slash camper slash RV slash winter camping. Um, I've gone out for a while. I was up at my cousin's. He's very mechanical. He was working on some stuff, and we were out in the garage. It's and here in Upper Michigan tonight, Upper Peninsula of Michigan tonight. It's it's very cold. When I last had signal on my phone, I don't have signal here at camp, but when I last had signal on my phone, it said 8 degrees, and it looked like it was gonna hit 7 or 8 tonight, and that was gonna be the cold. That's Fahrenheit. That was gonna be how cold it was gonna be tonight. But, it's cold. I had left the propane heater here running when I went up to spend time with my cousin and hang out in the garage. When I got back, it had completely run out, and I expected it to. The tank was low, so I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna let it run, and at least it'll, put some heat into the tiny house camper, you know, and I could benefit from the heat when I got back. Well, the temperature had fallen, as the sun went down, but it's definitely dropping tonight, into the single digits. And when I got back, it was absolutely freezing here. And that's something that people in tiny house videos maybe don't mention a lot, is how cold the tiny, I haven't skirted the outside of this camper yet. And I do believe that will help. And right now I'm completely off grid. So you could say this is a tiny house or RV or a camper off grid living video if you really wanted to think of it. I'm not hooked to the power right now. If I was hooked to the power, I would probably have an electric space heater going, maybe hooked to a thermostat. I would, and if I was living here, I'd have skirting around the trailer to keep the cold air from going underneath. And maybe I would keep it warm even when I was gone to work or whatever else. But right now, as it is with the propane heat, I when I went out to visit my cousin, it definitely had gotten cold in here after the propane ran out. So I came back, and that's something we should talk about is, I looked at the clock, and it took about 25 minutes with the heaters I have now to warm up the camper. When I say warm up the camper, I'm not talking warm like your apartment is or your house is or what normal house living is like. I mean warm where it's a lot more tolerable than what it was. And yes, you can definitely get it warm in here where it's way too hot in here. I think climate control, it is might be kind of a hard thing to do. And again, with heaters, with thermostats, it's probably not so hard. This Buddy heater here has high and low, and that's the only temperature setting. So, but when I got back here to the camper, I'll grab this flashlight. We'll just take a quick peek outside. Again, right now I'm running completely off grid. So that's why I'm using the flashlight. But you can see this is Upper Peninsula winter time. It's cold out here. It's frosty. It's single digits. Looking out into the field. I mean, so I'm gonna close this door up because the cold air, it does cool things down in here. It can cool things down rather quickly. So, when you're staying in a tiny house or something like that, it's a way of life, and there's adjustments that are going to be made in order to make things the way you live. Right now I'm off grid. I have eggs hanging up there because outside, I mean, they would freeze right solid up there is not the coolest spot, but it's kind of the temperature where I want them to be right now. And I'm not buying a lot. I'm only going to be here for 2 days, but I didn't buy a lot of food. If I was staying here longer, and I was still off grid, I wouldn't buy a lot of food. You know, because you can't keep a lot of food easily. You know, in the wintertime, it's not so bad. In the summertime, you're going to have a cooler or whatever. So, you know, something to think about. Another thing when I got back, this right here, this little propane cook stove. Again, this is part of being off grid. And when I do hook the power up, next time I'm up here, so this might be my last off grid video. But when I do hook the power up next time, I'm probably still going to use the propane for cooking. It does work pretty good. Got a little base there. And then, you know, a temperature knob right here where I can adjust the flame. But right now I'm cooking some homemade brats, some bacon. This bacon I think might finish out before the brats, just because the brats were not pre-cooked. I am having a little bit of trouble cooking and filming at the same time. I apologize for the amateur photography, but I am not by any means a pro, and nor will I ever claim to be. So, just sharing a little camping video, little winter RV tiny house realities here, I guess is what this could be called. So again, living off grid, I got this little. A lot of my stuff has come from the Walmart camping section, so I got that. I did have the bed. Last night I went from the top bunk up here. I had everything made up here, and I ended up on the bottom bunk. I have an air mattress, and I threw it down there, and I set up, and you know, because it was so hot in here. This is a tiny space, so I mean, heating with propane or even a space heater. There might be times where you're going to almost have to open a window or open the door to cool it down. So tonight I decided it's so cold out. It's single digits. Fahrenheit. Well below 0 Celsius. So I threw my bedding back up here, my air mattress. Easy to move. You know, air mattress is light. So I just kind of roughly remade my bed up there. There's not a lot of room between the bed and the ceiling, but I'm a big guy. I fit just fine, sleep just fine up there. I can also keep an eye on the space heater. You know, I just take a peek down. Boom, there's the space heater. Right now I do have it on high. It's on the high setting. When I'm sleeping at night, it's on low because the high only lasts for 2 hours. I'm planning on burning out this tank before I go to bed. I'm just trying to warm the camp up. So when this tank goes out, I'll screw the next one in, and I'm going to turn it down to low. And low is noticeably different. The glow, the red glow of the stove, it is quite a bit more when it's on high. And the heat that radiates coming up off of it seems to be more too. So. But yeah, we're gonna continue to cook these brats and this bacon together and just kind of let it cook down. You know, but I just wanted to kind of do a little video. You know, I've seen videos of tiny house living and stuff like that where, you know, they have their wood stove. You can get it very cozy in here, but when you leave, I mean, unless you're hooked to the grid or you have a huge propane tank and a propane burner that has its own thermostat or something. And, you know, I don't even know. Maybe that needs power too. I don't know a lot about it. But the reality here is, coming back, the struggle I've run into is, you know, you come into here, literally the inside of the house was, the inside of the tiny house tonight was 9 degrees Fahrenheit. It was just as cold in here as it was outside. And I closed the door. And I got the propane heater going. You know, that was kind of my first step, was to get this going, get the glow going. I had forgotten my lighter out in the car, so I went back out to get the lighter. And my second step was I lit up that the propane burner and I started cleaning the pan because I had cooked some brats in it earlier. So I got the pan clean with some good hot water that I boiled right, in the pan. Basically, I heated water up and then scrubbed it with that same water. Got the pan clean, got some brats cooking, and I've been cooking ever since I got home because, if you're gonna cook, it's kind of dual purpose, for winter camping. The little propane burner there is putting heat up. If I put my hand up by the ceiling, I can feel the heat up there. So, and in a small space like this, that little amount of heat, it can mean a lot when it's 9 degrees out. It's another source of heat. Let's warm it up in here. And I imagine, even in a small space like this, I'm just here by myself. But if I was to add another person in here, the extra body heat, combined with the heaters, obviously, body heat isn't going to do it alone, but it would definitely make a difference in heating this place. I could see that. I mean, little things mean a lot. So when you're heating a small space like this, and the same goes in reverse when, little things mean a lot when you turn off the space heater. It does not take long to cool down in here. Right now I'm barefoot, to give you an idea, and I'm sitting here in a t-shirt and jeans. But it's cold in here. I just checked. I don't think I can see my breath, but it's close to being around there. I think probably with another hour of running this buddy heater on high, and when I'm done cooking here, to be honest, as long as I'm awake, I might run the propane burner just kind of on a low heat, so it's not like cooking itself and melting its own thing here. But I might take the pan off after I'm done cooking and just let that burner run at a lower setting of a heat, because it does throw a lot of heat. I don't want to get anything too hot. I don't want to catch anything on fire. I don't want to burn all the oxygen out of the air or carbon monoxide or anything like that. But tiny houses and campers, they're kind of at least with my situation with propane, I mean, things might be different with a wood stove or, electric space heater or anything. But right now, with the temperature outside, I'm not struggling to keep it warm, but you do have to spend some energy to warm it up. And then once you get it warmed up, I'm noticing that I need to keep the space heater going, the buddy heater. But, and the buddy heater itself would warm it up, don't get me wrong. But I like running both sources by cooking with the propane burner here and using the space heater at the same time. And like I was trying to say, I will take the pan off and probably let it run, not out of control, but just let it run at a low flame, because it throws a lot of heat into the air and it will help warm it up in here faster. But I'm just gonna enjoy my meat here once it's done cooking. I'll eat on that, and I might partake in some celebratory herbs and spices. Well, mainly just herbs. Here after I eat my meat and before I hunker down, as some would say, in the bed tonight. But yeah, my main goal right now is my situation's not ideal. We could talk about that, having a 20-pound propane or even bigger propane hooked to that. And honestly, the next time I come up here, I'm going to have an electric space heater and electric lights. Because the propane is expensive and the electric is going to be more efficient in a lot of ways. And it's actually probably going to get it a lot warmer in here, I'm assuming. So, as far as the propane goes right now, my goal is to burn that tank up as fast as I can. I got it on high. Let's put the energy into the air. Let's heat this place up. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I was gone for probably 3-4 hours. So, I mean, it got as cold as it's going to get in here when I got back. Some of my jugs of water Not that one in particular, and not really these bottles either. But I have some jugs back there in the corner that are frozen and are barely thawing out as I've been coming and going from camp and turning the heat on and off. Well, when the heat goes off, it does not take long for a tiny house to get cold. You know, and my walls here are only 2 inches thick. So whatever insulation is in there, maybe an inch and a half of insulation. You know, it doesn't take, it's not like a house where you have, 6 to 8 inches or, it can really cool down quick. So, but like I said, I try to do things like this where I'm cooking. I got that heat coming. I mean, you hold your hand over this pan and you can feel the heat. So, let's take a look here with the flashlight. Again, we're off grid, so the only light we have is flashlight and lantern. These are homemade sausages. They're still connected. Some thick cut bacon. I'm cooking it on a really low heat. Mainly because I have low lighting. The sausages have to be cooked all the way through. I don't have a lid for the pan. I threw the bacon in there. And I'm not really in a hurry. I'm out here at camp. I mean, behind me, you can't really hear them, but there's a bunch of cows bedded down in the snow there. They have their hay and their feed, and when I pulled up, I could see their eyes looking at me. I kicked out some white-tailed deer that were here. They eat from the cow, where the cows are feeding too. So the rancher that runs the cattle here, he's here daily. And he has more than just this piece of land going. He has his own land and other places he rents to. He even rents from other members of my family. So, at least I think he does. I don't really know that, to be honest, but I think he does. So, but yeah, he has lots of cattle out, and that's what he does all day long. You could say 24/7, 365. He's tending to his cows, but he loves it, And I love the cows out here on the farm. I love them as neighbors. I come outside the camper and there's 25 cows and they're all chewing on hay and they're all looking straight at me as they're chewing, and I say, hey cows, hey babies, so, but it's peaceful out here, and that's kind of what it's all about. Well, it's kind of what it can be all about. It's definitely a bonus. I like the peace and quiet out here. And the other thing I think the thing about a tiny house that a lot of people fantasize about is getting away from rent, and that's why I am considering leaving my place and moving out into this little trailer, but it's going to be, the thing is it's going to be a way of life, living in my apartment. Way of life there is getting fat, watching TV, playing video games, and going to work, coming back, and repeating the same cycle. We're out here, I'm keeping this heater going, and if once I'm on the grid, the heat will be on, but there's still going to be things that are going to be a struggle. I'll get a refrigerator and things like that, but I foresee like issues with here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and on this farm, the old farm buildings, the barns, and all that stuff. I foresee issues with mice. Here in the tiny house, keeping the mice out. I foresee issues. I've already had flies, and for that matter, I've already had mouse poop in here. I haven't seen any mice. I'm scared. I don't like mice at all. So I'm going to do my best to keep them away. If you guys have any advice, I'd definitely appreciate it in the comments. But I've already had flies. When I heat it up in here, the flies come out of the wood. It's something else. So the wood in the ceiling does look like it leaked at one time, and that might be why there's the new rubber roof. I don't think I don't think there's really any mold issues to worry about. So, none that I'm worried about anyways. But yeah, myself personally, I would like to move out here just to, if I was living out here, it would be free rent. You know, pay my share of the electricity with the rancher, whatever we feel I owe them, you know, for staying out here. And I would probably stay out here most of the year. Not quite all year, but most of the year. And I'm not just saying that for legal reasons or whatever. I know there's things about living in an RV. You're supposed to have a permanent address and stuff, which I would. I've already arranged that. So I've definitely been planning it. But I don't know if I've said this on video, but I want to get my situation here set up better. I want electricity. I'm not worried about running water, but I want a way to heat water, which maybe even a propane burner is my way to heat water. But I want to have hot water. I want to have, a warm environment in the winter and cool in the summer. And this camper's old, to be honest. I mean, I could live in it, and it really wouldn't even be that bad. It's kind of like living in a little log cabin. It's nice. And I could live in this, and I have other buildings on the farm. I could store personal belongings and stuff like that without even having to pay any kind of storage. I could live out here, but I wouldn't mind before I leave my higher pay in the city. Not that I'm making a lot or anything, but I wouldn't mind having a nicer RV out here. A more modern, something with a slide out or something. And then building a roof over top of it to keep the rain and sun off of it. And having it permanently wired to the electricity. Have it set up for cold weather and hot weather. Because you get all 4 seasons here in the UP. But I wouldn't mind something more modern to deal with that. And, and maybe living most of my life in it. Every 10 years getting something new. And upgrading. And when I say new, I mean something newer but used. $4,000 or $5,000 type RV. On the other hand, I mean, the problem I have with this is it's small and it's missing things. I don't have a bathroom. And you know what? I don't know how well I'd. So things I'm gonna have to think about. Let's just put it that way. Things could be done here where I would have a bathroom, but it's next to impossible besides having a bucket over in the corner, which if I'm just here by myself, maybe could be done. Especially if I just set it outside or whatever after it's been used. But the problem is going when it's 9 degrees out and walking outside, opening that door and going outside because you have to go number 2. Not gonna be a lot of fun. Let's be real here. Nobody wants to go out in cold, frigid temperatures like that and try to go to the bathroom. I mean, even if I had an outhouse and I put a heater in the outhouse, which I've thought of, and that might be the solution, I'm still probably gonna have to walk outside to that outhouse to use it. This bacon is definitely looking better. I don't know how well you can see it. I'll show you. Trying to be the cameraman, the lighting man off grid, and the chef all at the same time. But I'm going to try to flip these sausages. So like I said, these are homemade sausages. And just like, they're connected, so I'm going to have to cut them apart. These are really good. Put some light on the situation. Oh yeah, those are cooking nicely. The bacon's cooking nicely. So we're just gonna let that go for a little bit longer. And then I'm gonna, like I say, I just got low light there. Just gonna let that go, and then we're gonna enjoy some meat. And probably after I'm done eating, like I said, I might might take a couple puffs. But after all that, you know, the problem without electricity, the other thing, my phone doesn't work out here, which is great in a way. I have no signal, but there's kind of a problem with that is I can't really connect, you know, I can't connect to the internet at all. So that's definitely an issue. And it gets boring. I have no music out here. I mean, there's ways to do that without the internet. But my real plan is once I get the electricity, there's an antenna of sorts that you can buy. I think Best Buy has them. But I'm going to get that antenna. It's going to be hardwired right into the camper. I'll put it up on a pole. There's already poles up here at the farm, but if I have to, I'll put my own pole up. And I should be able to catch, you know, a good 4G connection and have the internet out here. Which will be nice because right now it's nice, the peace and quiet, don't get me wrong, but not being connected to the world kind of it's an inconvenience. So it'll be nice to be connected out here. And if I move out here, I mean, you got to be connected when you're working and stuff. So if I move out here, I'm going to be working. My plan will be to save money, you know, by living in the camper, by not paying rent. So I'm going to try to work twice as hard because now I don't have to pay the rent and I can actually bank up some money. So yeah, I'm just going to let that cook down. I've been rambling here. And if you've made it this far, I'm impressed. But I know people like these videos. I love these kind of videos. This isn't maybe the traditional format of a video. This is more the fireside chat about warming up a tiny house. I mean, I've been talking for 27 minutes on this video. And I had already gone about 25 minutes when I started. So we're pushing an hour of running this heater on high and cooking. It's still cold. A lot of people would say it was cold in here. I'm a big guy. I can handle cold temperatures probably better than a lot of people to an extent, and be comfortable in a house or a tiny house, and maybe a colder indoor temperature than a lot of people would like. And it's still cold in here. Even to me, but I'm not uncomfortable. I think a lot of people could be comfortable in here, but they would be on the cold side. I think I'm gonna have to burn all of the propane, the 1 pound cylinder, out of the Buddy heater, the Mr. Heater Buddy heater. I think that first cylinder is gonna go right to empty on the high setting. And I've already said this, but once that goes empty, it takes 2 hours. I'm gonna unscrew it. I'm gonna screw in a new cylinder. And it should be pretty warm in here, and then I'll go on low. Because low lasts for 4 hours, and if I'm gonna go to sleep tonight, then I'll get 4 hours of sleep at a time, and I'll change out the cylinders. I'm probably gonna set alarms this time. For maybe 4.5 hours. So even if it's still going, I've already kind of timed the cylinder. I mean, it's only going to take me 2 cylinders to sleep. So, you know, the first one, I would rather change it out while it's still warm in here. Last night, the cylinder went out and it got cold in here, real cold. By the time I changed it, it was already too cold in here. So I'm going to maybe set a timer on my phone to try not to let the fire go out, in other words. So, but it looks like my sausages and stuff are coming to the point where they're gonna be done. And I'm pushing a half hour on this video. There's a lot of rambling on about warming up a tiny house, but it's not that hard. I mean, you get yourself a little some kind of heat source that's safe, you know, and maybe a carbon monoxide detector. maybe a fire extinguisher, stuff like that. You get the right kind of heat source where you're doing it safely. It doesn't take that much, and there's definitely better ways to do it than this. This Buddy heater here is not the most fuel efficient, best way to do it, but it did work. You know, it gets the job done. And once I get the electric hookup, I'm saving this Buddy heater as my backup. And same with this here. I mean, once I have electric hooked up and maybe I have a different way to cook in here, I'm still going to save this as a backup. I'm going to have propane tanks laying around. You know, it won't hurt. The power does go out. This is Upper Michigan. You get big snowstorms, stuff like that. It knocks the lines down and you have no power. So, and again, it gets so cold in here so quick, I'm going to need a backup around. You know, even if I get a generator, it'll be nice to have backup. All right, I'm going to wrap this video up. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to be making a lot more camping videos because I'm going to be doing a lot of camping, whether it's on-grid, off-grid. I'll probably branch out into doing some bushcraft. I do have a lot of forest here on the farm. So I love building forests and sleeping in forests and stuff like that as well. So kind of my New Year's resolution is to get moving and get doing stuff again. So that's what we're going to do. But this is just 9 degrees outside Fahrenheit. It's cold. We're warming up this camper. We're going to sleep up there tonight. And tomorrow I'm probably going to drive back to the cities and go back to work for, you know, a week or two before I can get back out to camp again and hopefully hook up the electricity next time. So, all right, I'm going to finish cooking this and just enjoy the rest of my night out here at camp. And we'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching.